Welcome to another episode of the Muffed Punt podcast. My name is Brandon, and tonight I am joined by my buddy Paul. It's the two amigos, and we're here to talk about a little bit of football. We've been away for the last couple of weeks. Things have been a little rough in Dell Land, but we have persevered, and we are back. Paul helped me out in that department. Another shout out to you there, bud. So we got back a little bit earlier than I had expected, but the computer's up and running, and we have persevered. So what's up, buddy?
Sounds like you should have got a Mac. PC, dude.
If I didn't video game as much as I do and PC game and all that fun stuff, then I probably would have. Like, I don't think it would have been even a question to me that would have been the way I would have went with it. But to be honest, one of the nice things is I didn't realize how versed I was in troubleshooting Windows stuff. And I'll be darned if I didn't get through that like with flying colors, man. When I called up about my problems, I was like, yep, I did this, this, and this, and this. And they were like, all right, we got nothing else for you to do. And I'm like, cool, let's call this a night.
Nice.
So,
how did you break your computer? Like you said, your processor burned up, right?
I don't know. They didn't say burned up specifically. They just said they replaced the processor. So whatever the problem was, I'm assuming was with that after 90 days of owning it, which is great.
And you said you don't overclock it. Like you don't even do what they allow to overclock. So you don't mess with it that much.
No, the only time I ever even go in that section.
What kind of porn were you watching? That's got to be some really solid stuff. So, like, if you could send me some of that, like offline or something, because that's got to be good.
I don't know anything of what you're talking about. That would have to be some crazy. I've tried to like figure out like what it might have been other than like running mods and video games. Like I can't really think of anything that I might have been doing that would have been crazy with the processor and stuff.
You're just over this porn.
I'm sorry. I'm trying to be realistic.
Yeah, me too. I've known you for a while. Don't you lie to me.
That's great. So I think I'm happy to be back. I'm happy for us to be able to get back in the world of sports here. I think it was like the perfect time for everything to happen. My computer held out till the Super Bowl and then crapped out like immediately thereafter. So I was like, hey man, if you're going to pick a time to do it, that would have been the time to do it. Right.
Right. It is. And like your computer, it was chugging along, and then just like the Chiefs, it got hit upside the head. Like, what just happened?
Well, we haven't had a podcast since the Super Bowl, and I realize most people are probably talked out of the Super Bowl, so I don't really want to get super duper into it. But wow, that was surprising. It
really was. I had a feeling. I don't know why, but I had a feeling it was going to be like when the Seahawks and the Broncos played. And then, like the first play was the safety and the Broncos got destroyed. I thought that there was a chance the game was going to be a blowout, but I did not think the Chiefs were going to be the victims of the blowout.
Yeah, well, I remember we specifically said in one of our episodes, if the game is a blowout, we were going to definitely say it would be on the side of the Chiefs. And I just felt bad leaving the podcast, and everyone on the podcast had so like matter-of-factly chosen the Chiefs. And I was just like, this just doesn't feel good. This is that moment that Tom Brady thrives in. Like when everyone is counting him out, that's when he steps up and does his most crazy Brady stuff. So was I surprised? Not at all. The only thing that made me mad is the game was a stinker. Like there has not been a good Super Bowl game since the Patriots played the Eagles.
What year was that?
18.
Oh no, there's been 3 bad Super Bowls.
Yeah, I know, but I'm saying like it's that to me, like when there is a good Super Bowl, it's just so special. It's so nice when you have everything that comes together. It's on national TV, all that time set aside. Like the game sucked. The halftime show sucked. Like, it was just that halftime show was awful.
Oh, come on. It was a halftime show.
It was a show. I had never expected The Weeknd was much of a dancer, but my opinion of any dance skills that he might have had have definitely come down quite a bit. You got to have somebody who can entertain all the way around, That's why Justin Timberlake is such a threat, man. He can sing, he can dance, he hits all sides, giggity.
and come on, he's pretty. He's pretty.
Yeah. I remember when I was in college and he had put out that the DVD of like his concert, and my mom wanted to watch it. Dude, that was a good show. Like, I'm not gonna lie, like I wanted to hate it. I wanted to hate it throughout the whole thing, but the dude puts on a good show. We've been all over in the sports podcast. All right, so let's get started. So we have ourselves. I wanted to start off with tags because it's been ourselves the franchise tag day. So we're going to go through here. I feel like some of the better moments here of the franchise tag day. One of the ones that I think was a big surprise was Chris Godwin with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The Super Bowl champions officially placed the tag on Godwin. The Pro Bowler received 65 passes for 840 yards and 7 scores during the 2020 regular season, 16 catches for 232 yards and a score in the postseason en route to the Lombardi Trophy, and Godwin is slated to make $15.808 million on the tag in 2021. Were you surprised to see Godwin get tagged by the Bucs?
I really was surprised with this one. I mean, let's not forget he was injured part of the season. Brady didn't start out the way that he finished, and so I mean his numbers came on late in the year. But I'm a little surprised that they're not trying to hold on to him longer than just what a franchise tag does. I thought he was going to get. I thought he was gone. Then after the Super Bowl, he said that he wanted to do what was best for the team and for himself financially. So I figured he was going to get something long term. So I'm really surprised that they weren't able to come to an agreement and that he's going to be playing on the tag this year.
So if I'm looking at those 3 wide receivers and I'm looking at Mike Evans and Godwin and AB, if Tom Brady is going to keep AB in check, which I think you could argue last year that he did, I think I'm trying to keep AB and Godwin. And maybe that tag buys you one more year to figure out what to do with Mike Evans.
I get where you're coming from, but AB is not a young player anymore. And in my eyes, Chris Godwin is a younger, less good version of what AB was in his prime in Pittsburgh. And then Mike Evans is that jump ball receiver that you need, who's 9.5 feet tall with a 47-inch vertical. So if it was me, unless Brady is really that committed to Antonio Brown and Antonio Brown's okay with not making any money, then I don't see why you don't pair Godwin and Evans. That's what I would do.
Do you mind if I throw in a special quick thing here that's not on our list?
I do.
Do you really think, I don't care, obviously, do you really think Gronk was actually entertaining offers from other teams, or do you think he is just his way of like trying to drive up some incentive for like the Bucs to keep him around?
I don't think that Gronk is going to play with anybody aside from Brady, because those two are, I mean, those two are on the same page all the time. Gronk, towards the end of the year, he really started coming on. In the playoffs, he did great. Obviously, he did nice things in the Super Bowl. He's not the player that he once was either, but he doesn't have to be. I'm pretty sure the Bucs have OJ Howard under contract next year when he comes back off his ACL injury. And I think that keeping Gronk around is going to help turn him into a better tight end. And I thought he was already a very good player as it was. So Gronk is the same person who, so he didn't have to work on multiple days, recorded himself in a whole bunch of different outfits on one day, and then just started sending those for his OTAs. So I don't think he's going anywhere. I think he needs Tom Brady. I think Tom Brady needs him. And I'm sure that things have happened with them that I don't want to know about.
Oh boy. Next one on the list, moving on, is Marcus May from the New York Jets. New York placed the non-exclusive franchise tag on May. Jets general manager Joe Douglas has expressed the desire to get a long-term deal done with the Pro Bowl safety, but for now, May will earn around $10.49 million on the tag in 2021. Now, this is interesting because you just had them before Joe Douglas, I believe, get rid of Adams, and now they're making sure that they keep May around, which I believe May, kind of a different skill set, for the guy in the back, I mean, he kind of has a different, I would say, place that he excels in the game than Adams did. But feel like the Jets are finally doing things to try to keep people around. Yes, they are shopping Sam Darnold, but they're making sure the back end of that defense is at least going to be shored up for one more year.
Hey, now they said that they're not shopping Sam Darnold. They're just accepting phone calls on him. And that's a very different thing because, oh, wait, they're the exact same thing.
Yeah, it's tough with Everett because we haven't seen where the Watson chips are going to fall yet. And so it's hard to kind of take anything seriously with the Jets because that's really the only thing that maybe they could do that I feel like would be such a huge blockbuster thing for them. Because otherwise, they're not getting a quarterback of that caliber, I would say, at least not for a little while. It would be interesting to see what that team does to try to get themselves out of irrelevance. I don't even know if it's possible. I don't know if it's going to be possible with Joe Douglas or not. I mean, I don't know if the new head coach, Saleh, is going to be able to really turn it around. You don't seem to be very high on that idea.
I like him as a coach. I think that he's going to do great things, just not in New York. I don't think that there are certain things that we just know in life. We know that the Manning family is the reason Tom Brady doesn't have 14 Super Bowls instead of 7. We know that the Jets will never be any good. And we know that the Cowboys are basically the Jets in Texas. It's weird. But no, the Jets will never be good. All right, Tom Brady could show up. They could sign every team's best player, and they would still find a way to blow it. I mean, this is the same franchise that paid Mark Sanchez for the butt fumble and then just ran everybody out of town. The team just doesn't know what to do. I don't understand how teams from New York, unless they're named the Yankees, have no idea how to do anything competent. The Islanders, the Rangers, the Knicks, the Jets, the Giants, they all suck.
What about the Nets? They just got Blake Griffin.
Yeah, but they're in Brooklyn. That's different. No, and I'm sorry, the Nets are going to fall apart. They have more head case egos on that team than any other two teams in the NBA.
Oh, I will definitely be watching those playoff games.
I can't wait because something's just unbelievably psychotic is going to happen, and you're not going to believe it. Like, you could tell me, you remember when it was the Pistons, I think, who like went up in the stands and fought the fans? Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Yeah, you could tell me that Kyrie would do that, and I wouldn't be surprised. I'd be like, yeah, that sounds right. That checks for me. So I just, no. Everything about New York is just terrible. I digress. The Jets will not be any good. I don't care what they do. They're just atrocious.
Well, we're going to go straight from terrible to terrible. Guess who got franchise tagged? Allen Robinson. The Chicago placed the franchise tag on the star wide receiver. The 27-year-old Robinson logged a career-high 102 catches for 1,250 yards and 6 touchdowns last year. Ian Rappaport added, the move wasn't a surprise as the Bears were never, ever, ever letting him go. I was surprised by that one because he's been very vocal about him wanting to leave.
Yeah, that was another one that surprised me. It feels like all the teams that were supposed to use the tag, that were used to using the tag, didn't this year, and all the teams that normally don't decided to do it all of a sudden. But I did not see this coming. I thought that he was just as vocal as Deshaun wanting to get out of Texas, and you can't blame the guy. I mean, who's the best quarterback he's played with? No one? Yes, that checks out. So it's just, I can't believe it unless they're not going to try to sign and trade. They're going to keep him because they think that they're going to get somebody. If the rumors on them going after Russell Wilson are true, then what are they going to have left on their team? What kind of trade is it going to take to get Russell Wilson? So you get him a good quarterback and you have 2 good players. You don't have a line. You don't have a running game. You don't have a defense because you probably had to use that to trade to get Russell. So this just seems incredibly short-sighted to me.
Alec, who is Nick Foles? That's the answer to your question, right?
No, nope.
But who was the best? Who was better than Nick Foles that Allen Robinson played with?
Blake Bortles.
Oh, get the out of here.
I'm not gonna lie. My goal this entire show was to get you to drop an F-bomb before I did, and I just crushed it.
That's all right. I won't max out my 10, so we're good there. All right. So one of the next ones that I wanted to go over, we have a couple guys on the offensive line. I mean, we don't have to go super in depth about each guy, but you got Cam Robinson with the Jacksonville Jaguars. He's slated to get tagged for $13 million. And then Brandon Schraif, am I saying that correctly, from the Washington football team? He was franchise tagged for a second straight year. He is 29 years old, and the team are looking to get through a long-term deal with him. He earned $15.03 million playing on the tag, and will earn north of $18 million in the coming year. So I know one of the things that for me is always one of the most important things when it comes to football is your lines. And we always say you kind of build in and then out as far as the lines go. You want to get those things square first. Do you think these guys are worth such a big heft? I feel like we're kind of working towards this point and we're getting there a little early. So I don't want to beat a dead horse. So I'll kind of bring it up a little bit now. There's a lot of kind of back and forth about what the cap's going to be next year. And a lot of people are saying it's going to go down. Some people are saying it's going to go up. So there's still some stipulation as to like what the final numbers are going to be. And especially in the next 5 years, you have the TV money coming in because you have the 17th game added. Plus they're renegotiating some things because of everything that happened with the Big C. I heard the NFL was trying to get like upwards of 100% more money on the TV rights. Like, good golly.
I think that football has really peaked. I don't see it continuing to grow the way that it has. I think it's become too politicized, and the nation is kind of sick of that at this point. So I don't see football games being worth quite as much as they were, say, 7 years ago, right, as everything was exploding. So I think that they'll be able to get the salary cap about the same with the 17th game, which seems like that's going to go through pretty quick.
I heard stipulation today that the cap in the next 5 years might go up over $70 million.
I'm curious where that money goes. And I'm not saying that the players don't deserve it. I think the players deserve far more of the pie than what they get. So I'm not in any way trying to say that. I think that the slice of the pie that quarterbacks get is way too big. I don't know. One player is worth 20% of the entire salary cap on a 53-man roster? I don't think so. And that's where I think so many things are backwards with it. I think that it's a bubble that has to pop eventually, but I mean, if we're going to get another $70 million added on to, what is it, like 160, 170, somewhere in there?
I think I thought it was 180. I could be wrong.
Okay. It's just crazy to think where that money is going to go, especially since Patrick Mahomes is signed until he retires, essentially. So I don't know. I think that money is going to be tight. I think that's why the franchise tag wasn't as big of a deal this year as in past years, because when you franchise someone, you're paying them top dollar for that year. And there's a lot of teams that don't have any cap room and are over the projected cap right now. So we'll see what happens with that. To get back to your point about the lines, I think that that's the best way to build a team, unless you're the Cleveland Browns, because I think Joe Thomas might be the greatest left tackle I've ever seen. He didn't miss a snap until he had his career-ending injury. But everyone wants to throw so much money at quarterbacks. If you give a quarterback $35, $40 million, what do you have left to spend on offense? Let's say the cap is 180 for whatever reason. And let's say you want to split it as close to 50-50 as you can. So you've got $90 million to spend on 11 players and their backups, and you've just spent almost half that on one player. I don't see it. I think that quarterbacks are very overpaid. I've said it before. I would rather have a game manager and have much better line and a team that can work together. Because Tom Brady's never been the highest paid player, and he always takes pay cuts, and he's always the one winning Super Bowls. And then you've got people like Aaron Rodgers and Deshaun Watson and Russell Wilson signing these just massive contracts, saying, "Oh, I don't know how he does it." Well, because they can afford to pay other people.
Am I hearing some like Packers stigma? Because they won't sign big free agents and stuff.
Oh, not necessarily, because the Packers have never really been known for signing free agents. So
no, I mean that's why you would have that feeling, because you can't have it. So why should other people be able to have it?
Oh, no, not at all. I think that if you go back, like the entire time I've been a fan was when Brett Favre was there. So I've had back-to-back highly paid Hall of Fame quarterbacks. And it's not that I don't think other people deserve it or anything like that. It's just...
Oh, I'm mostly fucking with you.
I'll kill you. All right? I'll cut a bitch. I don't even care. I don't even care.
You'll kill me. I know.
You're DQ'd from the rest of this conversation. All right, just be quiet. I'm gonna light you on fire. You're gonna turn into a flame.
So there's a couple others on the list, but the main one that I really would have been kind of holding back from talking to this entire time, even though we've always reveled in how much we dislike the Cowboys, is Dak Prescott. The Cowboys tagged Prescott in an unprecedented move as far as Jerry Jones is concerned. I doubt that's the case. It's a record-setting contract as far as 1 year is concerned, right? NFL Network's Tom Pelissero notes that this will make it highly unlikely Prescott is tagged again in his career, as it would count as his third career tag, one that comes with much more cost prohibited figures. So
I believe it was written into his contract that he can't be tagged by them.
Oh, interesting. Well, I would say even still, even if he got, let's say he leaves the Cowboys and goes somewhere else, I would say even then I would still count, right?
Yeah, that's true. I just this contract's crazy, especially with how it's being paid out.
Yeah, so what do you think, bud? Dak Prescott finally got the deal done with Jerry Jones. What side of it do you fall on? Do you think that Jerry Jones and Dallas came out on top? Do you think that Dak finally got the deal done that he wanted, that he needed? How do you feel about the whole thing?
I have mixed feelings on this. So I'm thrilled for Dak because he was a third. I always forget, third round pick, fifth round pick, third, I think, out of Mississippi State. Okay, I think he was a third round pick out of Mississippi State. And I mean, those don't work out, especially at the quarterback position. So I was thrilled that he was able to get the money that he did. As a fan of a team in the NFC, I'm more thrilled because if the Cowboys are paying him $40 million a year, they can't afford anybody else. They're paying Zeke top dollar. They got Amari Cooper top dollar, and now they've got Dak top or second top dollar. They can't do anything. So I love it. I do think that Dak very much deserved the contract. I think that Dak as a person he seems to be a good person. He's done a lot of help for the mental health community, especially after what happened to his brother. So I will always root for a guy who uses his celebrity or her celebrity for good. So I'm thrilled that Dak got paid. He deserved it. I love that the Cowboys did it because they're dumb. And I mean, so what? 4 years, 3 of the top paid people. What, they're going to make the playoffs once out of those 4 years? Maybe twice if they have a good season. They have Mike McCarthy as their coach. You're not going to do anything.
I think you could argue out of all those guys you listed, though, that Dak deserves that money the most.
Ahead of Amari and Zeke?
Yeah.
Well, Zeke, he's gone downhill ever since I think his first or second year. You don't pay running backs. And
I told you he left his heart in Cabo, Paul. He left his heart in Cabo.
Really? I think he left his heart in Columbus. His best years are behind him. I think that Amari is very undervalued. I really do. He's not paid like it, but I don't think enough people bring up just how talented he is. He's not Julio, but he's good.
You could argue Julio's not Julio right now, but yeah.
Well, Julio used to be Julio. That's why he's called Julio. But I don't know. Dak deserves it. Dak deserves it way more than Zeke did. And But I think that this, again, just goes to the quarterback bubble because Dak is going to be Kirk Cousins. He's a fine quarterback. He can make some plays. He'll keep you alive in games, but he's not going to win you a title, especially not at that price.
I don't think that Dak is capable. I mean, we've really not said nice things about Dak on the show. I mean, go back and watch the him get outdueled by one of the Carr brothers in an accuracy contest we bring up quite frequently. But I think it's interesting because I do feel like the team, as far as the locker room goes, I think they like him. And I think that they want him there. I'm kind of surprised. It doesn't seem like they have very much concern about the ankle. They must know that things have gone pretty well since the second surgery for him. And as far as everything goes, I mean, the way that they structured the contract, I kind of feel like the Cowboys came out on top of it because of the way that it's structured with the actual cap hit and everything for the next year or two, because then they'll be able to get out of the unknown next year into the big money years that are going to be coming up. I don't really know if I agree. It depends on how much you put in the Nielsen ratings as to what you had said about with football and the ratings or not, because with everything else has been kind of going down and football just continues to go up. But I know that Nielsen stuff is kind of suspect in some in some ways. I feel like it's going to be interesting to see how Dallas rolls out of this, because I don't have any expectations, even though they have spent all this money. So as far as pressure goes, I mean, it's going to be kind of interesting to see what they put on themselves. And last year they signed a lot of free agents, a lot of people that came in and kind of threw off their locker room chemistry. So I'll be interested to see what this year brings for them.
I think that the only reason that they're going to end up making the playoffs 1 or 2 years out of that contract is because that they're in the NFC East, and Dak is far and away the best quarterback in that division.
Oh man, do I have to agree to that now? God damn it. You might be right. I mean,
what do you mean might be right? Washington doesn't have a quarterback. The Eagles, Jeffrey Lurie is the only person who's all in on Jalen Hurts. Like, Jalen Hurts' mom is not all in at Jalen Hurts starting for the Eagles. And come on, Daniel Jones, that's not a thing. He was supposed to be a tight end. Come on. He's far and away the best quarterback in that division.
That's interesting, man. That's going to be a painful thought for the next couple of years. Come on, Jalen. That just gives me more reason to root for Jalen. Thank you, Paul. Jalen, I have my motivation now. I needed to find it, and I have finally found it. We're good now.
I had to help you somehow. I bring you down enough.
Well, one of the things that we've talked about quite a bit on this show has been what a crazy mess of insane chaos this NFL offseason is going to be with free agency. And man, we got ourselves a list of people that we're going to chat about because everything is still up in the air. And I know we still got some more cuts coming up, right?
Yeah, we've got some more cuts. Some more people were cut today. We've had trades. This is the craziest offseason I can ever remember.
It has to be. It has to be. And for me, it's insane to see what all these teams are like making such seeing these teams make such quick decisions on players. Didn't mean to cut you off, though. Go ahead, bud.
No, you're good. It's really interesting. I don't think that this year has a twin if you can combine it with any other season. I don't remember ever seeing this many quarterbacks change teams. I don't remember any quarterback ever saying he wanted to pipe his coach's fiance.
I still hope that's real. That's hilarious.
I want to know who the snitch is. Like, come on. We always talk like snitches get stitches. Did the team hate him enough that they decided to do that? Or was it just one person that's just like, hey, Sean, check this out?
It's like that meme that's going around of Alshon Jeffrey as the Queen of Spades, or what was her? The Queen of, what was it from the Game of Thrones? And it was like, oh, I want Wentz to know it was me.
I haven't seen that. You'll have to send that to me.
Oh man, it's great. It's when it comes to like the NFL locker room, I think that's one of the things that it's kind of like your friendship with guys. It's tough because you always have certain friends that you know that you can't say certain things to. So you always have like, it's when you have locker room situations and you have certain things that get out, they have to know in certain times who it was that said certain things. What was it? The stupid celebrities that like told their friends different baby names so they knew which one of their friends were fake and selling the names to the tabloids and stuff.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know who sells out their quarterback, and that's just to show.
That's my quarterback.
That's my quarterback. Who sells out a quarterback who has the contract that he had? I mean, wow. I just, this offseason's been shocking. Seriously, no twin year. It's just been flames.
So I think one of the top names on the list that I want to get into is Hunter Henry.
Yes.
Hunter Henry has announced he's going to be able to be a free agent. He's going to hit the market in this coming offseason. I would say arguably, top 10 tight end easy. Would you say in the top 5 for you?
I think he's probably 5th or 6th for me. So he's right on the cusp. But I think that this means that the Chargers and their new quarterback take a step back. Justin Herbert, he had a phenomenal year, but when you lose somebody as good as Hunter Henry, you're going to take a step back, especially with a new offense and everything coming in. So I was very surprised that the Chargers didn't put the tag on him.
It's really tough when you have a rebuilding team to make those decisions as to who you're going to keep around and who you're not. And it's always tough when we're playing with half of the information because it's not like how he jives with like people and the coaches and all that fun stuff. Who's the more expendable guys. For me, I would have to think a tight end is your safety net for your young quarterback. So it is a surprising move.
Yeah, 100%. Tight ends are they're the people everyone goes to, which is kind of funny because when I was younger and someone explained tight ends to me, it was, oh, well, they're the weakest blocker that will block for you, and they're the slowest position player who will do stuff for you, but they're just so versatile. So it's just very surprising that if you're going to have now a second-year quarterback going into a new system and you're going to give up his safety net, that just seems stupid.
Another one I think that's going to be interesting because his contract has just been such a mess and all over the place, and I'll be interested to see what kind of money he can garner now is Malcolm Butler. What do you think about him? I mean, once a star for the Patriots, then got himself paid with the Titans, and now he's back on a hit free agency again. I think he's likely to have, do you think the veteran minimum, like what would you give to a guy like Malcolm Butler at this point?
I'm curious where he ends up because it seems like he did something that really pissed off Belichick, and that's why he got out of New England. You remember that Super Bowl where he just sat on the sideline, and then
that's still mystifying. I mean, thank you. I there's no way I feel like the Eagles would have likely won that game if he wasn't sitting on the sideline. But thank you. I don't know what that was all about, and I think it was probably one of the dumber Bill Belichick moves. Like that's like I'm proving I'm the coach over winning this game, and I don't like if you're a head coach and like your best player, it's your choice to put that best player on the sideline as far as your defense is concerned. Like, do you do that in the Super Bowl? No way. I think I would do that.
No, never. Maybe that's why Tom Brady left. He's like, look, you screwed me over out of a ring, so I'm going to go get a ring because Malcolm should have gotten me another one. So as far as Malcolm Butler is concerned, I think he's a decent corner. I think that he can be a really good second cornerback on a team. So
he's your slot guy, like second, third guy for sure.
Oh, I'm just saying because when he went to Tennessee and then for the last couple of years he was in New England, he was their number one. And I don't think he ever really was a number one. He just got lucky on a read that he made and won a Super Bowl. And I'm not trying to diminish that or take it away because that is one of the greatest plays in NFL history. But I think that because of that one play, that his entire career trajectory is off from what it would have been.
Another guy in that same vein for me is like AJ Green, another guy that I don't really see getting a whole lot of money in free agency. What do you see for AJ Green?
I'm really curious where he's going to end up because who's going to want to pay him? Because when's the last time he played more than like 3 games in a season? So I'm clueless as to where he ends up. I could see him getting like a 1 for $5 million, 1 year for $5 million contract, but I don't see him really getting much of anything more than a 1 year deal. It's kind of sad because if it hadn't been for injuries, he's one of those what if people for me. What could have been if he hadn't been so injury prone?
Yeah, there was a lot of talk about him with the Eagles there for a little while, and I was glad that didn't happen just because of that same reason. I think he has got a lot of talent. He can't stay on the field.
What do you mean the Eagles aren't good or known for having wide receivers that get injured?
I was going to say, are the Eagles not known to have a wide receiver? What?
Not an NFL wide receiver. I mean, let's get ahead of ourselves.
I know we're talking about free agents right now, but we just brought up the Eagles. Did you see the Slay's restructured contract?
No, what'd they do to it?
So the Eagles were able to restructure the contract of Slay to help them save about $9 million. His hit this year will be about $9 million. And then after that, the next year, it's 23 and 22, I believe. The guaranteed is just over 20 overall. So those are the rough numbers here. I'm trying to find some like exacts, but that's about the gist of it. I think for me, like one of the crazy things is just thinking about for that defense that needs like basically everything other than him. Like, are you really going to invest $20 million into, like we were talking about this earlier, the same thing like with quarterbacks, like how much are you going to put into one player, one difference maker? I watched that guy get burnt by DK in multiple games last year. And you're going to, like, he literally said himself, he played the worst he's ever played in his career. And then that's what we want to do, is commit that much of the pie to him. I realize we're basically redoing this whole rookie quarterback rebuild thing that we won a Super Bowl off of. Very similarly, the Eagles have like a no pressure situation, because I think one of the greatest breakdowns I saw about the whole Carson Wentz situation is like, did your expectations for the Eagles really change at all after that happened? No. Like, they're still basically the same. So did anything really hurt them at all by doing that? I mean, other than losing some of the cap stuff or losing some dead money and losing some picks, I think overall, I feel like they might have really just, ripped the Band-Aid off and saved themselves some time maybe overall in the rebuild. I think
I think you're overlooking that in this one too, then, because I think that's what the Darius Slay contract is doing. Do you remember the year that Darrelle Revis tore his ACL and then he came back? The Patriots gave him a 2-year contract. The first year they paid him like $5 million, but then if they kept him for the second, it would have been like $20 million, but it wasn't guaranteed.
Yeah,
I think that's what happened. They restructured the contract so that they can help get under the cap. They've got all the dead money from Carson Wentz hitting this year and next year. So they've got 2 years where they can do it with Darius Slay while they're rebuilding with a quarterback on Jalen, second round quarterback.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. And Dak earlier, Dak was a 4th rounder.
Dak was a 4th. Okay. So Jalen's on a 2nd round contract, so you don't owe him a lot of money. So, I mean, you're still essentially paying a quarterback, even though it's not the quarterback that you're paying. So that's not really losing too much there if they didn't think they were going to do anything with Carson. And then they're not going to get much on defense. So I think that this just helps accelerate the build, get them under the cap for this year, since it's likely going to end up dropping from last. So I think that you're looking at it as the extra like 2 years at 20 some million, but I don't think he plays those years. I think that he's cut before then.
So we got 3 names that I think are like super interesting in this list here. 2 of which are wide receivers, one being Nelson Aguilar and the other one being Sammy Watkins. And I think those are going to be definite interests to see what happens in the offseason with those 2 guys. What do you think about those 2? Do you think that they have the ability to still get paid? I mean, with Watkins on that unbelievable Chiefs offense, I don't think that there was too many like, moments, but yet he's dangerous. I think kind of similar with Aguilar, he was able to kind of pull the pieces together with the Raiders last year. Unfortunately, it doesn't. I mean, maybe he still goes back there, but at least having the ability to test free agency, do you think somebody gives him some money?
I think he ends up back with the Raiders because the Raiders need wide receivers. I thought it was really interesting that he hit the market though, because he had such a good year last year. It wasn't like it was a little bit better. It was significantly better than he had done in Philly the last couple of years. So I thought that they would have locked him up with like a 2 or 3 year extension. To me, the big surprise, and I mean, maybe surprise isn't the right word, but Sammy Watkins, he's been all over the place. He's so talented, but I mean, he's more injury prone than AJ Green at a younger age. The way that it really surprises me, the way that Sammy Watkins is so talented and he's not going to get the money that the talent deserves because he's just off the field so much. So someone's going to pay Sammy Watkins middle of the road money. If Sammy Watkins thinks that he's going to have a great year and he's done with all the injuries, then I see him signing a 1-year contract and proving it, balling out. But if he is worried about injury at all, I could see him taking a really cheap, like 3-year deal.
I think these guys, for totally different reasons, are basically on the same boat. Like, they're basically in the exact same situation. So I'll be interested to see which teams decide to bite on them. I do think the Raiders are probably going to be the best place for Nelson. They like him. They believe in him. The locker room likes him. I think that's going to be a big deal for him. I wouldn't be surprised to see him back there. As for Sammy Watkins, man, I have no idea, because I think for the Chiefs, you could replace him so easily. But yet, for him to go elsewhere, I'm sure he could be an addition to a lot of different teams. But like, how much are you really going to put out for that?
Yeah, no, I hear you. It's really interesting. It's just a great offseason. It really is.
Yeah, I've been having fun with these pairings, and I got one more for you. And I would be happy if either one of these guys ended up on the Eagles. You got Fitzmagic or Tyrod Taylor. What do you think there?
Oh, man, he's either 38 or he's going to be 38. So he's really getting up there, especially for someone who, like, one game is a Hall of Famer and then 2 quarters later, it's like a draft bust. But I don't know. I hope that Fitzy stays in the NFL. I think that he could compete for a starting job in a bad team, and I think he'd be a really good backup for any team. Tyrod, man, I have wanted this guy to succeed since college. I was never a big Madden guy because I don't know, I just couldn't get into it. But NCAA football, that was my game. And Nate, you suck at NCAA football. You beat me once ever, and that's because you cheated and you fucking know it. All right, just had to get that out there. But he was the perfect quarterback for me. He was a scrambler, and he doesn't, I don't think, have the talent to be a good starter, but I think that he can really help a young quarterback come along. I would really actually like to see either Alex Smith or Tyrod Taylor sign in Jacksonville and help mentor Trevor Lawrence once they draft him.
Wasn't Urban Alex Smith's coach?
He was, and that's why I think that you could connect Alex Smith there. But I think that Tyrod is a little bit more the type of quarterback that Trevor Lawrence is. So I could see either one of them going there. And I think it'd be really cool for that. And I just want Fitzmagic to stay in the NFL for as long as possible because he's so entertaining.
Yeah, and I think both of those guys would be an amazing backup for the Birds for the same exact reasons. Like, I think both of those would be good guys for Jalen to be around and see like what it's like to be a guy that sticks around for a long time in the NFL.
Yeah, completely agree.
All right, so I got one final pairing for you if you like, and if you come up with any others, we'll hit those as well. But my final pairing, I think, for tonight is Clowney and Aldon Smith. Two guys that I think have the ability of being a wrecking force on the defensive side, but yet also have, like, either for injury reasons or space case reasons. I mean, as far as those guys go, you have to wonder if they're going to show up on a game in, game out basis. So, but yet they have the ability to turn a game around for you. I mean, for the Texans, he knocked Carson Wentz out of the game for the playoff game. So that's definitely a good thing for Clowney as far as they were concerned. What would you say if you were a franchise looking at that? Do you think that you see Smith go back to Dallas and they try to run it back one more time with him to see if they can catch magic?
After signing Dak, I don't know that they have the money to invest in Aldon Smith this year.
I can't imagine Aldon would get that much. Clowney is going to get a pretty substantial amount, I'd have to imagine. I don't think Aldon Smith will get that much. How much
do you think either one is worth? How much would you pay? And keep in mind, Clowney before last season, he wanted like 20 a year. And I think he ended up getting like 15 or 16.
No way I would take the risk on Clowney that Clowney wants.
No, what I would Clowney ever made was at South Carolina when he decided that he was going to decapitate that running back and then just grab the ball. That is the best play he ever made. He peaked in college. So no, I would not pay him anything.
When I heard that he wanted that much money, I was shocked that there was an actual market for anything even close to that for him. I would say for him, I would do around like maybe 10 or less. Aldon Smith, like maybe 5.5 or less, like probably less. And I don't think either one of them would take that deal.
I was thinking Aldon Smith for $5 million, but I don't think that the Cowboys are going to have $5 million to invest in a maybe. So I think we're real close on there. Clowney, I don't want Clowney on my team personally, so I wouldn't even offer him a contract, but I'm guessing he's going to get somewhere between like 8 and 11. And
that seems in a fair range. Yeah, for sure.
I think it's funny that JJ just got paid 31 over 2, and here we are talking about Jadeveon Clowney, who was supposed to be the next coming of JJ, and he's going to get like half that. So
yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. So what did you think about JJ Watt choosing the Cardinals?
I was surprised. I think he wanted a mix of a good amount of money and a team that's got an off chance of getting him a ring.
So, I was really surprised because I know with JJ taking that, I felt like there was 2 other teams that offered him more money, the Browns and the Colts. And I feel like he would have had a much better chance with the Colts and doing a playoff run than he would have had with the Cardinals and more money.
I think that that's really interesting. I think part of the reason that he went to the Cardinals is Chandler Jones. I think that since Chandler Jones has been in the NFL, Chandler Jones is the only person who has more sacks than JJ Watt. So those two on the same line are going to be a wrecking ball. I personally really wanted to see him with Myles Garrett because you can't not respect Myles Garrett. And I mean, you're going to double team him. So JJ against one person, that would have been insane. I think he chose the best quarterback out of the 3 though. And when I say best quarterback, I mean for next season only, because I don't think that Carson Wentz is going to show up and the first year he's going to be 2017 Carson. I think he's going to be much better than 2020 Carson, but that's not going to take a lot. So I think that Carson needs a couple of years to get in shape. I don't think that Baker Mayfield is the long-term solution at quarterback for any team. So going through the Cardinals, going to play with one of his old friends in DeAndre and someone who's really good in the line, and then playing with Kyler. And he sent the text message to Kyler and said, "You're the reason I came here." So I think that's it. I really do.
So the Colts defense last year had 2 players. One player had 9.5 sacks. Another player had 7.5 sacks, and DeForest Buckner and Autry. You also had Darius Leonard, who had over 132 tackles, 3 sacks. And he had 9 tackles for loss last year. Buckner had 13 tackles for loss last year. You got some guys on that Colts defense that can ball, man.
I totally get it. And I'm not saying for the defense. I'm saying that I think that he has more faith in Kyler Murray than he did Carson Wentz.
That's fair. I just feel like the Colts are going to have themselves a very interesting team. Though that running back core is going to be dangerous.
Yes. Yes. that is a sick, loaded, talented room.
So that for me with JJ, I feel like was the biggest surprise. I feel like if it were me and I was looking at all those deals, obviously I would be smiling from ear to ear. But other than that, I feel like I would have likely gone with the Colts myself. But I know I don't know how much owners really play a role in it, but I know Irsay is not a very likable person from everything I've ever heard. Do you really think that might be part of it?
That could be part of it. I hate Jim Irsay. I think it'd be fun to slap him in the face.
He's got a very slappable face.
He does. And then, okay, dude, you're a billionaire and you're telling me that you need to sell like $30,000 worth of Oxy. Like that's what you need to do with your spare time as a billionaire is make a few $1,000s. How much money do you think that dude makes per game in the NFL as an owner? $30,000, $80,000, whatever it was. You are an idiot. That is the dumbest thing ever. Like it's not Jeffrey Epstein owning a child island bad, but it's stupid. And it's just, come on. I'm sorry. I just want to slap him. Slappable face. Brandon, I'm in a slappy mood tonight.
Yep. Him and Dan Snyder. I could smack the crap out of both of them. I feel like with so many boneheaded owners in the league, it's kind of surprising. What's kind of not surprising to hear like guys like Jeff Bezos are trying to weasel their way into the NFL.
I think it's interesting because did you know that the NFL turned down Donald Trump back in the 80s?
Yes, I do know that. Wasn't that why they had wasn't he part of the UFL, was it? Or
USFL?
USFL, that's right.
Yeah, he was part of the reason why it ended up failing because he wanted to make it compete against the NFL. And it wasn't going to compete against the NFL when it was that young. But as a spring football league, it was great. And they had snared quite a bit of talent away from the NFL.
That's why I was kind of bummed that the XFL ended up running into the pandemic because they were doing pretty good. And I thought they'd made a lot of good decisions the second time around. I know Mr. McMahon has kind of been a bit of a snake in the grass with the whole Oliver Luck situation and trying not to pay him. But I feel like that if that hadn't happened with the pandemic, I feel like they would have had a very successful first year. Yeah,
no, I'm completely on board with you. It sucks because spring football would have been fun. And then they just happened to run into the 1 out of 100 year situation where, well, this isn't going to work out.
Yeah. So, well, I think it's been a lot of fun being back here on the podcast. I want to thank Paul for coming out tonight. I want to make sure that we get ourselves back into a rhythm. So we will be back here again next week. I know him and I have been watching ourselves a lot of baseball and a lot of hockey. So next week, definitely get ready. Football's probably, unless there's some big stuff, obviously we'll cover that. But I want to get into a little bit more of some baseball and football talk because I do feel like out of the grand scheme of things, those are the two sports that get neglected the most when it comes to sports coverage. And I always myself have found myself yearning for more information when it comes to those two things. So hopefully we can help some other people fill that void in their life. So if you like all that and you like what you heard tonight, make sure you hit like, make sure you subscribe, make sure you let us know in the comment section down below what you enjoyed and what you didn't enjoy. That way we can try to do better in the next episode. And thanks for tuning in. Thanks again, Paul, for showing up, bud.
Yeah, just one last thing before we go. Just congrats to Patrick Kane, the greatest American hockey-born player ever on his 400th goal. He's the greatest player ever from America. Does that hurt, Ralph, that he's been a Blackhawk? Thank you.
You know, I do say, though, even though it does hurt that he wasn't a Flyer, I feel like supporting an American-born player is always going to be something I can get behind. And what did you tell me was the goal breakdown earlier?
He's at 200 goals on the road and 200 at home.
That's just crazy.
Right? Come on. 400 goals and it's even? That's impossible. That's crazy.
Did you catch any of the games out in Idaho? Or not? Yeah, Lake Tahoe, rather. Did you catch any of the games out in Lake Tahoe?
No, I didn't.
It was all right. It was interesting because the NHL mismanaged the fact that they couldn't get the ice cold enough during the day because of the temperatures.
Who plays a hockey game in the sun? Come on, did no one live in the Midwest or north of the Mason-Dixon line? You play a cold weather sport. You can't do that in the sun, you idiots.
You know how cold it has to be for a lake to freeze? And that's basically, they weren't lake on, but that's basically what they were trying to recreate.
They were doing that, but they were doing it in the sun. Ice melts in the sun. All right, it can be 20 degrees. The sun will melt some of the ice. You should know that. You play on it.
When I went back to watch the NHL.TV replay of it, the broadcast, they didn't cut out how long the delay was. It was an 8-hour game. The game was 8 hours long. I was like, no one took 5 seconds to cut out all the dead air, you lazy bitch. Like, come on. God damn.
That's crazy. Now I'm excited that we're gonna move into hockey a little bit because I do think it's really neglected, and I'll do baseball for you.
Well, hey, you know what? So if you're out there and you're a Cubs fan, you're a Brewers fan, you're a Phillies fan, if you're a Blackhawks fan, if you're a Flyers fan, I don't think Nate likes hockey, but he might. I don't know.
Oh, Nate's going for the Golden Knights.
Oh, there we go. If you're a Golden Knights fan, we're going to have a lot more coverage for you coming up in the next coming episode. So just make sure you stay tuned, and we're definitely going to have a lot more coming for you. We're going to be also, Paul and I are going to be doing a separate podcast. Right now, the running title is Paul Splains Football, and I don't know if I should spoil it, but we might be adding a video element to the podcast. So sit back, relax, and get ready to see some ugly mugs, and Paul's going to teach us something about football.
Sounds fun, buddy.
All right. Take it easy, folks. Have a great rest of your night. Bye-bye now.
Because I don't normally do this, because I hate, because people watch the game, but I'm going to show you. But watch this story right here. Now, if Dak Prescott hits Michael Gallup, he's going to hit his head on the goalpost. Now, is that a good throw, Skip Bayless? What about this one right here? Woo! Sailed it. Come on, keep it going. Ooh, I love this right here. Now, these are not repeats, ladies and gentlemen at home. This is, look at this. Amari is wide open. He's just frustrated. Now, look at this. I can make that throw. Oh, my goodness. And that guy wants $40 million. He's the most accurate. He's the most criticized, most scrutinized. I don't know. I get sick of listening to people talk about that. This is why.